I was 36 years old when I launched out to do what I would learn is the hardest thing in my life. I felt the voice of God. He said, you're going to head to Lancaster and you're going to start a church. I was excited. I was happy. I didn't realize what I was in for, of course. And that first year, I had everything in my mind's eye. It was planned out. I knew after the first year we were going to have 50. And I knew after the second year we were going to have 100. And I knew after the third year we were going to have 150. And in 5 years, I was going to be full-time. It was as easy as that. But after a year and a half into it, I realized that it didn't quite work that way. I realized that I was working in a field that I was sowing seed, and I didn't see a harvest right away. It wasn't as easy as I had thought it would be. And so the real facts were is I didn't even realize how hard it would be. I had no clue as to really where this would lead me, if I would even finish this race. And so I had to ask myself a question. I said, what is the easiest way that I can really make this happen? What is the easiest way? How can I somehow solve these issues of having to work and raise a ministry from scratch? And so today I want to speak to you about ministry in the marketplace. Researchers say that 1 out of every 3 preachers is involved in the secular world of some way, shape, or form. 1 out of every 3. That's 33%. And there are several reasons for this, obviously, with the operational costs and land costs and things like this. It's expensive. What other reason is that we are in a season right now where men are leaving and they're starting works. And you start with zero. When you start a work, you don't have a speaker. You don't have a chair. You don't have anything. And so somehow, some way, all of this requires one thing. Everything requires money. Everything that we do, the outreach, the flyers, the speakers, the sound system, the instruments, we don't think usually if we walk in, as we walked in here today, we walk in and the lights are on and the speakers are hanging and the seats are in place, but we don't think about where all these things really started from. And so the reality is this: when someone starts out like this, it's extremely rare that they start out with an income that's like Brother Gonzalez, been full-time. That really has been the exception. That's not the rule. And so I started out with a dream, and I realized some things that I was really going to have to get really good at certain things. I was going to have to get really good at watching every hour in my day. I was going to have to get really good at managing my time. Because I was working 8 hours a day, 9 hours a day, 11 hours a day. And it would be very easy to wake up in the morning, have work on my mind, and skip an hour of prayer. I would have to manage. I would have to micromanage what I did. And managing that was so important. I would have to get real intentional about what I did. And this, if we would rewind 8 years, I was full-time in the ministry for 8 years. So I went from full-time to working in the regular world. So I wasn't used to this every hour watching thing. It was new to me. It was extremely new to me. And so one thing I realized that what I feed will grow. What I feed will grow. So if I spend all my hours working, I might have a lot of money, but my kids might be out to lunch. So I would have to somehow find a way to manage my church, my family, my spiritual life. All these things were coming into play because I didn't want my kids to be lost. I wanted revival like everybody else. So how do I find this spot in life where everything can grow? Secondly, I would have to determine who I was and what I was. I was a preacher of the gospel of Jesus Christ. That's who and what I was. I was a realtor. I showed homes, I sold homes, I worked with investors, but that is not who I was. I was a preacher, and I had to show homes and open homes. The only issue was this: I didn't like to show homes, and that's a problem if you're a realtor. That is the worst thing. I would do anything from getting out of showing a home. Because in my heart, I thought, I am wasting my time. Except the scripture calls me to be a provider for my family. So I had to reconcile this in my mind. Okay, I have a church. I have a family. I have to somehow find my way through all of this and stay spiritual at the same time. I didn't like any of these things. But one day, it was so open to me, and it was so clear to me. Selling homes was a car. It was a vehicle that got me to where I was going, which was in full time in the ministry. That's all it was. It was a car. I don't know about you, but I like nice cars. I like Hondas and Hyundais. No, just not. It was a vehicle. That's all it was to me. And in all of this, it was hard sometimes, because I would see I'm working, and all I saw sometimes, honestly speaking, was it was so hard, and it got a little bit negative. And I saw, man, I have to wake up early, I got to do this, but I was missing some wonderful life lessons that I would learn. Number one, I realized when I was out there in the marketplace, I would witness. In the first 6 years that I started my work, I bring more people than my whole church man combined. All 5 of us. I was a witnessing machine. I was out there in the marketplace. I was able to witness it. I realized that I was honing in on leadership skills, because I had to manage a family and a church and kids and teenagers. God help us all. But I was honing in on these leadership skills, and I didn't even realize that I did not have to rely on the work for my income. So through that, I was a little bit more courageous in how I dealt with hard saints. You can interpret that however you want to. I was a little bit more courageous in not letting people control me, because I didn't rely on the church for my income. And this is real. This is just a real talk here today. I realized that I had wonderful relationships that I was working on outside the house of God. I realized that there were people out there that were really with me, and I didn't realize that they were with me. So let me wrap this all up. Although I started out and I had no clue of what we were in for, when I entered into the workforce and had to somehow reconcile my ministry with all this. 9.5 years, I had no clue. I learned that it offered a lot of valuable lessons. I learned that time is truly the greatest thing that we have. And what we do with that is of the utmost importance. Don't waste your time. I learned that how I saw me would help others, and it would impact others on how they saw me. I was a preacher of the gospel of Jesus Christ, and others would see me as such. I learned to appreciate all of the advantages that were out there in having to work in the ministry. I learned that there were actually some really good things. I just had to look for them. So if you are a minister here, and if you are involved in the workplace, number one, value your time. Value how you see yourself and find the value in the unseen advantages of being involved in